Oh, he rockets.
Yeah, Adrian passed on all his.
And then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, you should have put a ring on it. All right.
Hello.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás?
Yo me llamo Kristi.
Y yo soy Clarissa.
Y
somos
Primas.
Bienvenidos.
Oh.
Hey Primas, it's Gladys. So my mic actually was not working throughout this whole episode. I do think I'm loud enough for y'all to hear what I'm saying. You know, we're learning, we're growing. Bear with us, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Your anniversary of your engagement just happened.
It did.
Yeah.
And the only reason why that's a relevant date is because it happens to fall on my other half's birthday.
It does, yeah.
So we want to get into how that happened.
Yeah.
Because I have a video about it, or the video is there, and I'm very dressed up and very like, I sort of kind of might have known that something was going to go down.
So let's just start with your perspective. Okay, so it's John's birthday.
It's John's birthday, and we knew we were going out that night. As far as what we were doing, we were going to go to this one bar, meet up with his friends, and then go out. And that was the time where we loved Midtown. But the bar that we were going to beforehand had like really good pizza. And I guess that was, and drinks. So we had said we were going to go out to eat cheesecake. So it wasn't out of the ordinary when he was like, okay, be ready by this time, which we lived together. But that day, we did our normal shit. Like he would go we did our normal stuff. He would go, he went and worked out, or no, he was at the gym playing basketball. He would do that every Saturday morning, play basketball from like 8:30 a.m. until noon, 12, 1 sometimes. And then I would go to the gym, and if it happened to fall on the day that I would go get my nails done, then I would go get my nails done. And it did. So that part wasn't off. And it wasn't like I needed to have my nails done. It was just kind of like,
it was a routine that you had, and then of course everybody would,
with the photos. Once it nice. But but whenever I did get back home from the gym, there was a note that had lyrics to that is a Bruno Mars song.
It's a beautiful night. That one? No. I Want to Marry You?
No. Is it Bruno Mars? No, that's too hippity hop. Oh, okay. That's too like uppity up.
Too uppity up.
Is it that one? No, I guess I can't look at my phone. No, it was Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo. John, what was the name of the song that you wrote the lyrics to whenever we got engaged? Do you remember? Marry me.
Oh.
Do you remember how it went?
Will you marry me? I don't know. I think but I don't know.
I think that is it. 105 is the number that comes to my head. So he wrote these throughout the day. Yeah, so I actually kept on.
Oh, wow, John, way to give it away.
Yeah, so he wrote these, but here's the thing. I didn't know if it was timing right because we had just gotten together that like November, so we hadn't even been back together a full year, but we were together since college. But it was like, were we stable enough to be engaged? Like, had we had all the hard conversations that we needed to have, type of thing? So I didn't know if he was still not like, are we doing it? Are you really ready?
Yeah,
I feel like maybe I was ready, but maybe I don't know.
You were just wanting to make sure. Because before, when that was probably like a touchy subject,
for sure. Oh yeah, and I think a lot plays into that, right? Because my parents did they were together for 25 years and then decided to divorce, so it was kind of like in my head, was marriage really a forever thing? Now it was not to me. So I know you come from not a divorce also household. So like, what are your thoughts on it?
Mhm.
And more questions came up than answers. And I feel like I didn't have that one thing that I looked forward to for forever now as like oh no, it's not possible, I guess, anymore type of thing. So I still had all of that to kind of work through on my own. And even maybe after we got engaged. So anyways, okay, that day, we can do it another time. But that day he would he had these notes throughout, to like with flowers whenever I walked into the apartment. And I kind of thought it could happen. So I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to wear the good dress, not the other dress that I had in mind. And then we went out to eat a cheesecake. You know I love to go there.
Nowhere.
We went out to eat at Cheesecake Factory, and the whole time he's like, he has a lot of breaks going to the restroom. So he's going to the restroom and then coming back, and then going to the restroom and coming back. So I'm like, okay.
Is he gonna do it now? Is it gonna be my pasta?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
Is he gonna come out?
Where we're sitting, I'm like, who's sitting? Who's sitting by us? Like,
Jason Derulo here.
But doesn't happen. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we're just like driving to the bar that we're gonna go to. Oh my god. To the bar, and we're gonna go meet up with all his friends. But when we go to the bar, there's two sides. There's the bar side, and then there's the other side, which I had never been to. And we turn left. But as we're walking in, I feel like he went in the back and got his coat. Mm-hmm. And while he's doing that, I hear the music playing of the song. And then it stops. And I'm like, yeah. What's happening? But then when we walk in is whenever it really threw me off, because I was going right and it was supposed to go left. And that's whenever you can see like the candles and
it was a private room.
It was a private room. The roses. And I think that's whenever I black out, because it was dimly lit. So all I see are the candles and flowers. And then I feel like I see people, but I am thinking it's still part of the bar. So these are probably randos. And I'm like shaking. And I remember like him like getting down on a knee, and I'm shaking, but I completely black out. Now looking back at the video, whenever I can see and hear something drop. And I do remember something dropping and thinking, hey, you dropped the ring. Is he really doing it? And then I didn't really hear what he said. Yeah. Don't remember what he said. You can't hear it. But Danielle is the one that videos it. Danielle. Shout out Danielle. So yeah, she's the one that videotapes it. But what's funny is she came back in my life, which I had met her in 3rd grade. But she came back into my life when we were not together, John and I. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that she was there to see that happen, and then get it on video. Because I showed it to the boys the other day, and they were like, I want to go to your marriage. Oh, it was cute. So sweet, yeah. But that's cool to have that, to be able to show them. It is. So yeah, what's your story? Long-winded. I think that's it. Well, everybody was there. Oh yeah.
Jesus.
The best part.
No, so
we got here. We didn't land the plane. Everybody was there.
Was closest friends.
Literally, yeah.
And so everybody was there in that moment. And yeah, John had communicated to help him set everything up and have that ready to go. And I think it was well executed.
Yeah.
And it was...
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She loved it.
All that I could have asked for.
Yeah. Okay, so mine... So, again, me and Adrian have also been together since college. We turned... since 2012. July 2012 is when we got together. I graduated in 2013, college, December 2013, and he still had like 2 years to go. So we did the long distance. So we went to college in San Antonio. We did the long distance thing for almost 2 years, and we still stayed together. So we met in San Antonio. He happened to also be from Houston. So I've been teaching for 2 years, and when he came back, I was to the point where, because we went from being together every single day, doing our own thing, to like now I'm back at my parents' house.
Yeah, yeah.
The rules, That was not about anymore. I was over it.
Yeah, it's a different.
Yeah, and so I was at the point where I was like, I want to buy a house, or we're going to buy a house. I'm going to buy a house, or we're going to buy a house. You let me know which one.
Yeah.
But of course, he had to come back and get his job, and he did. So a year and some change after he had been at his job, we ended up buying a house together in 2018. Yes, 2018. And that was my decision, because I was like, I'd rather make an investment down here. We've been together for so long. We practically lived together in college. Not that we did, but, we were always at each other's places. So we kind of knew the ins and outs of how we both were.
Yeah.
I do think that's important.
1000%.
Like, I think on top of other things, but learning how to live with somebody and putting that, like, getting married and then living with someone for the first time, it's just like added stress.
Absolutely.
That you can already figure that out. And I mean,
have those conversations.
Yeah, have the conversation, see how people live. So I wanted the house. And buying a house is an expense, of course. So realistically, I knew that I was pushing back the timeline on getting engaged, right? I didn't need like a big old fancy ring. I didn't say that you have to. That's wild to me. People really put a number on like.
And we can talk about that too, because I feel like we're both not materialistic in like carrots, cut, like all of those things.
I don't know anything.
Could care less.
Knows more about the jewelry than I did.
Right.
All I had told him was when the day came, one, I wanted to be surprised. I didn't want to see it coming. So I want to be completely caught off guard. And as far as my ring goes, I want 1 diamond and a gold band. I was like, shape, size, I don't know, I don't care. Like, I trust you.
Yeah.
And so those were the only parameters that I had.
But y'all had those conversations already on like what type of, pretty much same.
We knew we wanted to get married.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was our thing. Like, so the house came, and then I was like, okay, then we have to build our finances back up, and so I'm not gonna expect anything. Well, then the next year is whenever he falls off his skateboard.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
And so and so that's literally like 2 weeks before our house anniversary that happened.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So I'm like, the anniversary was yesterday.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. And so I call it his I'm happy you're alive day. But anyway, so that was like another thing that
we are happy you're alive.
Yeah. So that was another thing that I'm like, okay, we got to get past this.
But also y'all kind of told us the story of the beach house, but I feel like whenever you were in that moment when all of that happened, like you knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think, that was really, I think, a turning point for our relationship, and then also for his family with me.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult when y'all meet in college, because y'all are getting to know each other and you're not getting to know your families at the same time.
So true. Yeah.
And so we were dating for like 2 years, right? But again, he's over there, I'm over here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really, I see his family a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so then all of a sudden on their end, it's like, oh man, they're buying a house together.
Yeah.
Like what's happening? But in our heads, like we've already been together for 6 years.
Yeah.
So, but they only know like half of that pretty much.
Right.
And that's bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And so where were we going with that? So then.
Oh, that in that moment.
Oh yeah.
So
that was a turning point. Yeah. So he had to be in the ICU for a week, and there was no way that I could go home to our home and it was just
a lot.
It was horrible. So and this is where I had kind of in my head been like, well, marriage, it's just a piece of paper. It doesn't really make a difference. We love each other, and that's all. And that's true in a sense. But when this accident happened, I was in my head, I was like, I want to be with him. I want to go see him. I want to stay with him in the hospital. There's no way that I can go home and leave him here.
Yeah.
And if his family wanted to be a-holes, they could have been like, no, she's not family.
Yeah.
They have that power.
Right.
Because you have no
technically
rights, nothing,
Yeah.
legally.
Yeah.
And so, and also worse if, because he could have been unconscious, he could have been in a coma, thank God he wasn't, but he could have. It's a miracle that he wasn't.
Yeah.
And so it's like, really, if that were to happen, they have say on everything, which say is one thing, but I just wanted to, make sure I was there. And
you were.
Yeah. And I literally was. And that's when his family and his dad, and like, they realized that who I am.
Yeah.
And they told my parents that, like, his dad told my dad, and my dad's like, that's who we are.
Yeah.
Like, because my dad did that with his mom, but, you know, like, we're there when something happens, like, we're going to be there. There's no, like, no jumping ship. You can imagine.
No. Yeah.
So that was a big turning point. And I think that's, like, really was like, okay, no, like, we need to get married. Like, this needs to happen. But it was also, like, I understood that it still may have taken time. Could we have just gone to the courthouse? Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of what I wanted to do since he was the one that wanted the wedding. But anyway, so then time's passing, and now we're getting to the point where our friends are starting to get engaged. Mm-hmm. And
we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. So then I'm like getting a little impatient, but it is what it is. So now we're in COVID 2020, or it's COVID. It's 2020 December. And so his dad every year has a big New Year's Eve party. And because it was COVID year, the first, you know, New Year's that COVID was, like, we were already in COVID, starting the year with COVID. So he wasn't going to have this big party. So Adrian was really adamant on, we need to go somewhere. We are always here for New Year. Like, we got to go somewhere. Oh, and I had also told him before, no holidays, no Christmas, no Thanksgiving, no Valentine's Day. You know, it's like, because I wanted to be surprised, you know, and I'm like, everybody does it, you know, it's just easier, and I don't want that. Yeah. So anyway, so he's like, okay, well, we got to go somewhere. Then we ended up choosing Florida. And he's like, well, we'll just drive. It'll make everything easier. And I'm like, okay. And so that night before we're supposed to leave, he says he needs water shoes or something. And he says he's going to Academy. He was going to pick up the ring from his cousin who's a jeweler. He didn't even have the ring in his possession yet. Oh my gosh. But he had it all in the work. Oh, man. I don't know if I should. That's backtracking. So, I don't know when it was. Maybe November or October. I took his car to go to the grocery store. And I, like my lists, and I crossed stuff out that I didn't have my pen. So I opened his center console to find a pen. And I find a pen that has a big old diamond on the end of it. And I'm like... He's looking for rings. So that's the only
indication that you had.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah. And that was like 3 months prior. So I feel like it was October. But that was, so in my head, I'm like, okay, he's looking. Yeah. But never, I was like, okay, it's going to happen. Right. I was just like, oh, he's looking great. Yeah. Like, awesome. Excited. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that was that. I didn't know that's what it was. So we leave, and I start feeling so sick. And I'm like, I can't do this. And he had to drive the whole way. Normally we split it because I love driving, but I was like, I can't do it. And so I like almost slept until we got to Florida. We get to Florida, I'm chugging Dayquil because I'm like, and I, again, not suspecting a thing. Then we're like, we go to 30A, love all these little beach towns. It's right after Destin. And we're just kind of, and it's Florida, so their restrictions are non-existent. So we can literally go everywhere and go to little bars and beachside bars, and he's just being extra lovey. Like, looking back, I'm like, oh man, like, okay, I could kind of see it. Yeah. But he's just being so affectionate, and like.
Or he's normally not like that?
No, he is not not out in public.
Okay.
You know, and then we weren't like making out, but you know, just like extra, like, I don't know. It was really nice. And that was like the only thing, but looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, you were a little extra. And so the night one, it's like the 28th maybe. We get there and we're having fun. We go, whatever. I still feel sick, but I'm pushing through. And then we're just exploring. Then it's New Year's. It's gonna be New Year's, so 31st, right? And we have this whole plan of like, or we don't really have a plan, but we're like, we have our clothes. We have some nice clothes in our backpacks. We were at the beach all day. It was cold, so we didn't get in the water, but we were like, you know, just hanging out and riding our bikes throughout the towns. And we're on the beach and we're sitting there, and he just like, we should ask somebody to take a picture of us. And I'm like, okay. But he never says that. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, that's so nice. Like, he wants to take a picture. And so then he's like looking, and I'm like, well, what about them? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. And we have wine, and we're just drinking wine. And then it starts like drizzling. And so I'm like, well, it's about to start to rain, so like, do you want to stay here, or like we gotta do something? It's raining, yeah. He's like, I'm like, Adrian, it's raining, like, cause now it's gonna start to rain. It's cold and rain. So he's like, okay, you're right, we gotta go. So we get on our bikes and we're riding around this little town, pouring rain. Yeah, it's like raining hard, not like pouring, but we're drenched. And we, to get into that beach, we had to ask, someone gave us the code. It's a private beach. But there was these teenagers, they're like, oh, do you want the code? And we're like, sure.
Yeah.
And so they gave it to us. So we're riding around in that same little community, and then we see like a pool area. And he's like, I bet you it's the same code for the beach. And we're like, okay, let's try it. And sure enough. So it's just one other little couple there and a kid. And then they leave. And so we're under like just the beach. We're on the beach chairs or whatever by the pool, drinking our wine. We had like 2 bottles of wine in our backpack, and we're just talking and talking. Like, it was just like such a good, like, just talking about literally life.
Genuine, yeah.
Yeah, like literally the future, talking about like kids and our family. Like, we're just talking about everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, I gotta go to the restroom. So I go to the restroom. I come back out, and he just bends down on one knee. He's like, will you be my wife? And I'm like, no. Adrian. And then I just hung over, but no was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Not no to the question, but just it's oh happening. My God.
Yeah.
And then we just hug, and I'm sobbing. I'm ugly crying for like ever. So I can't even imagine being in front of people.
Yeah.
At all. And at the time, so I was like elated. We FaceTimed our family. So it turned, he had asked my dad. So my dad knew, but my mom didn't. Because I told him too. I was like, if and when you ask my dad, do not tell my mom. She cannot know. Yeah. So he told my dad that. My dad respected it too. Again, my mom would have been like, oh, are you going to go get your nails?
Something would have given it away.
Yeah, because my nails were not done. Yeah. Everything, my hair was wet. I was wearing jeans and, just.
Yeah.
And so his thing was, I just wanted it to be the perfect time. Mm-hmm. He didn't have he knew he wanted to do it in Florida, but he didn't have like a plan. Set. Yeah. He set up his GoPro like in the pool area, and like we do have it. It's like super dark. You can't really hear anything, but you just see like the moment, and it's just such a sweet moment. And I'm really, really happy that that's how he chose it, because it's easy to fall into the pit of social media and how the elaborate,
Very. Yeah.
And but his mentality was always, I wanted it to be intimate, and I wanted it to be like our special moment, and it was so special. Because
I feel like that's y'all too, though. Like, that's very y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all seem so like a unit, always on the same page. I don't know. Like, outside looking in, like, it seems that's who you are as a couple, but both as individuals.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it was just so nice, because then so then it turned out I did have COVID. That's why I was so sick. But I didn't know until we got back.
Yeah.
But we pushed through, and it was just so special because we got to enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm,
we got to just spend it together. Yeah. And it is so special. Like, no matter how, so at that point we were together, 8 years? Yeah, 8 years.
Yeah.
Right when we proposed, and it brought another element,
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, every time I see, and if you're together since college, like, the time you're figuring y'all stuff out.
Absolutely. Still so many milestones, or so many, like, just different things that you're still going through, working through as a person, not just being a person in school, in college. You are now working, taking your career, and however you want to go in your career achievement wise. Like, you have to do that for yourself, not for somebody else. Like, I feel like that was so hard to see as like in high school. Like, I wish I would have thought about that more, was like, okay, I got to do it for myself, not for somebody else, or like leaning on somebody else for a lot of things. But
yeah, so I just think, because I do know that, I think that's also the more of the norm these days too, to be together a little bit longer. I do think when you meet each other later in life, it goes by quicker, because y'all are already grown-ups, you know, and y'all have already figured your each individual's things out.
Right.
And we're both fortunate that we're growing with our partners, because
Absolutely.
it is a thing that you grow apart.
Absolutely.
You know, being together since 19, like you change so much, but we're changing together.
Yep.
And also it's a conscious decision as well. Like you have to choose each other.
Yes. And I think though also, like, imagine how you grew up, how two individuals growing up so differently, and being able to talk out your emotions and being able to like verbalize what it is that you're feeling rather than just kind of shutting down.
We're still working on that for
1,000%.
That's you, or
oh yeah, me too. Like verbalizing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I shut down immediately.
That's Adrian.
Oh yeah,
I'll let him know what I'm feeling all the time.
John, that's John. But I think that's hard conversations have to be had before a ring goes on your finger.
For sure.
And being able to know how you handle those things and not just immediately like piecing out. Yes, I shut down. Maybe it takes me a day or two.
Process, probably.
Exactly. But it's still being able to come back to that person and being like, look, this is what I was hearing. And then that other person hearing it and then them saying, well, this is what I was hearing, and going from there. But it's just a bunch of hard conversations happening, and like different life circumstances that come up, and being able to know that that person is your person. Like, you're going to have my back no matter what.
Y'all have to be on the same page about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Do you want kids? Yes, I think that's number one, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's very unfortunate. That's something that not either person should sacrifice.
Yeah.
If someone's dead set on no, you have to know y'all have to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
Like, that's as a woman, if you're the one that does and the man does not, that's a hard thing to sacrifice.
Could you imagine now, let's say you didn't find your person in college, and being in the dating pool now, the odds that you could meet somebody that already have kids. So being, I guess, accepting of that type of dynamic too.
Yeah.
And I mean,
the older you get, the more like you're going to have to be like, okay, that might be a possibility, a role that you're going to have to take on.
Exactly.
And again, talking about that, like, the older you meet somebody, the quicker you're having to have these conversations. Yeah. If you're dating because you want somebody long term, I feel like that needs to be said up front.
1,000%.
I'm looking for a committed relationship. That doesn't mean that you're going to be my boyfriend tomorrow.
Right. No.
But that's what we're moving towards.
We're dating to marry, not dating to just...
to date and mess around, waste time.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel like a lot of, especially women, are scared to have that conversation up front because they feel like they're going to be judged. And I always say, if they're going to judge you for that, then they're not the person for you.
Absolutely.
So on to the next one. Better know now than later.
Yep.
That religion, are y'all gonna want to raise your kids based in religion or not? That's a big conversation.
Huge. Yeah.
Finances.
Isn't that like the number one thing that people get divorced for is finances? Which I feel like we can go into this another, maybe like a financial literacy one, but I 1,000% like we are completely honest with everything that's happening because of, in the event that something like that happens. Or when it did for my parents, at least.
Yeah. But everything just needs to be set up front. And I think where I was going to before is like, if you are in a long relationship and you're waiting for the ring, I think as long as that person lets you know that it is something that they're working towards, that I think that's important.
The validation, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Like, talk about it.
And it wasn't anything different. Like, I remember thinking, like, once we have the ring, things will be different almost. And it wasn't. We were already living together too, and we had already experienced living together. It wasn't so much as that. It was just really just being like,
it's a commitment.
It's a commitment. It's exactly that.
And it is already a commitment.
Right.
Like, when y'all are together, it is should be taken a lot more seriously, of course, but it's still, at the end of the day, y'all are still committed to each other. So I have a really hard time, like all these dating shows that at the end, like, the whole point, Love is Blind, the whole point is to get married, and then they are like, oh no, I don't want to marry you, I need time to figure out like how to be with you. But it's like, at that point, you're just afraid of commitment.
Yep.
Because the whole point of this show was to get married.
Exactly.
Y'all can work on your relationship as y'all are together.
Yeah.
But, so that cop-out, I feel like it's a cop-out.
It's 1,000. Yes.
AD and Homeboy. That's who comes to mind because it's like you're in a relationship and married, you're still going to be in a relationship. Because if you're saying you don't want to marry me, but you want to stay in a relationship, we can be in a relationship, marry, and figure it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you're just scared of commitment.
Yep. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just make sure that y'all are on the same page.
Yeah. Oh, how the friends were getting married. But I think you kind of said that, like, whenever, your friend group starts experiencing that engagement and, like, how they... Because I remember thinking, like, oh, it's going to happen on a graduation day because we were graduating the same year, same time, around the same weekend. And I was like, oh, he's going to do it on graduation day. I don't think we're ready. We're not ready. Definitely not ready. But, like, I thought that would be the time because all of our friends were doing it around that time. And then there was a couple that, one of our really good friends, that we went to their engagement and we had just freshly gone back together. And I went home like sobbing because I was like, that was so beautiful. You're not even anywhere close to being ready. And it was like, and he was listening to me the whole time, like driving home like this. Yeah. Crazy. But it was like all those conversations we need to be had. And then also too, like, I feel like you nailed it on the head whenever you said we're growing together. I mean, when you throw a baby into it, golly, there's just so many things now that you're instilling in that baby. That baby is half of you and half of your person. That all of the things that you want to teach that person growing up, that you'll have to be on the same page about.
Yeah, that's another conversation. Like, not only having kids, but once you have those kids, what is y'all's values that you're instilling into your kids?
Yeah.
That's really important to be on the same page about. Because it's hard.
Yeah.
And if y'all are not, having two completely different styles. And you can naturally have two different styles, but you'll have to compromise literally is everything. What marriage is. Yeah. Meeting in the middle. But during that time when your friends are getting, and there was one in particular, was like, they haven't even been together half as long as they're already. But again, they got together later in life. They're older, and
it's I feel like those conversations or those like instances always did happen, but it was like we are who we are as a couple, we are who we are as individuals, and it all worked out how it should have. And however the engagement happens, do I look back on and think like, I wish he would have done this differently, or I wish he would have done... No, I feel like that's not the type of person I am. I was just so excited, and I think you too, so excited that he finally came to the moment and said, like, you are my person and I want to be with you, that I could care less how it all worked out. I mean, I loved how it all worked out, but I could care less how he did it. It was just the fact that he did it. Yeah. And he was choosing to spend the rest of his life with me.
Yeah. Yeah. But in a sense, I still do also think, but I think it still does matter, though, taking into consideration what you think your partner would like.
Agreed.
Because you love surrounding yourself with your family, which I do too, but we like our moments to be, intimate, but that work, you loved it so much because you love sharing, these experiences with everybody.
Yeah.
And I think when you have someone that's more introverted and one of the partners is more extroverted, and they go all out, and I think sometimes people focus their attention too much on the wrong thing, like
absolutely
doing it for the picture.
Yes. Yeah.
I think just making sure that do it intentionally. Whatever you end up planning, or whatever you're requesting, or they're dropping hints. At the end of the day, what's important is the engagement. But I think you should know what your partner wants, and your partner should know what you want.
Yep.
Not like to the T. Don't be like, I want
this.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
And this.
Having a list is not what I'm talking about. It's just, if you want it intimate or you want it to be surrounded, I think that's kind of important in a sense, like to have that,
Yeah.
But everything else kind of goes together.
Yeah. It all works out how it should. How do we want to end?
Favorite wedding movie?
Oh, yes. We didn't do that in the last episode, like what we were doing. What favorite wedding movie? Oh, I love Runaway Bride. Julia Roberts.
I've never watched it in its full entirety. I've watched like pieces, I know the gist, but I've never watched it all. And so what's funny is mine is also a Julia Roberts movie, but my best friend's wedding.
Oh, I love.
And not like a proper, like, you know.
Yeah, no, those are both not. That's so funny. But that's literally what comes to mind. Oh gosh. Actual.
And of course, what's the Wedding Singer? But that's also.
Oh, the Wedding Singer is so good.
That's great.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, that's some sticky. That's my answer. Now.
Yeah. I agree. I love me some Julia Roberts.
Yeah, love her.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank y'all again for watching. If you want to share your engagement story,
or like, what did you need to have? Like, what was one thing that you were like, this needs to happen for my engagement?
Yeah, because the story would be too long.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but what was, or where you got engaged?
Oh, yeah, that would be a good one. Where you got engaged. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you next time.
Adios. All right.